Thursday 52. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. A note from our discussion about school board races last hour. So, District 181, Clarendon Hills, it's 4 candidates for 4. That's why it wasn't on my grid, because it's a fait accompli. 4 candidates for 4 spots. That's it. Same thing in Downers Grove 58, for those of you who haven't seen your ballot yet, waiting to vote on Election Day, perhaps. And speaking of elections, on Tuesday, April 4th, a week from today, we're not the only ones with spring elections. Our friends north of the Cheddar Curtain in Wisconsin have an April 4th election, too, and they've got a big race up there, State Supreme Court, which we've touched on a bit, but it's a race that has potential national implications, at least with respect to national elections. And for more on those implications, pleased to be joined by former Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, now the president and CEO of the Young America's Foundation. Scott, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Good morning. Good to be with you. Thanks for having me on.
So frame this race and this state Supreme Court race in Wisconsin and Daniel Kelly, effectively the Republican candidate in the race.
Yeah. Justice Kelly, I appointed years ago to the Wisconsin Supreme Court. He is now making another bid. He served his term, and the unfortunate, I should say, to have been on the ballot in the spring of 2020, when there was still a heated debate for president on the Democrat side. Bernie Sanders literally stayed in the race about a week before he suspended his campaign just to get people to turn out, and that was enough to be the difference. He's now coming back when there isn't obviously a presidential race on the ballot. I said at the time all he needed was one vote. When he first got in mind, I pointed him. He's like a Scalia. He's just a rock solid judicial conservative who upholds the Constitution and the law itself, compared to, as I call her, no jail Janet, someone who's tried and lost before to people who are currently now on the state Supreme Court, and who currently serves on the circuit court in Milwaukee County. And the reason I call her no jail Janet is this woman has consistently, it doesn't belong on any court, let alone the highest court. She has consistently not sentenced people like child rapists to any time in prison, including someone who raped a minor who was his own cousin. So this is just someone I think anybody, not just conservatives, should be distraught about, and yet she's eyeing up for the Supreme Court. And it, as you mentioned, has larger implications because unlike any race we've ever seen in Wisconsin for the court at any level, she's actually telling people what her views on issues are before the court, whether it's redistricting, whether it's abortion, whether it's any number of other issues. There's now even flyers out saying she's going to affect climate change. These are not the things you run for the court for, but she is.
Well, the redistricting piece and how that could potentially impact the 2024 election. What's the nexus there that people should understand?
Yeah, in Wisconsin, there are now only 2 of the 8 members of Congress are Democrats, not unlike other parts of the country. If you draw lines even close to fairly, the Democrat votes are routinely, and you know this in Illinois, just like we do in Wisconsin, the Democrat votes are routinely packed into large urban areas. And the only way to get more Democrats into congressional maps is if you take, and just the ultimate partisan gerrymandering, you take streams, you put voters, pack voters in the large urban areas, and you just do a small little sliver all the way out into the suburbs and rural areas. Historically, that's been knocked out in the courts because that's not fair, that's not right, it's not communities of interest, it distorts minority voting rights, things of that nature. She's made it clear she's going to throw the map out. And if you do that, there's at least 1, 2, maybe even as many as 3 seats that would be in contention that are currently held by Republicans. And in a tight 2024 election cycle. That could be the difference between whether Kevin McCarthy is the speaker or one of the radicals on the left is.
Yeah, no, so that's exactly it. That's understood. That's what I wanted to get to, because people around the country should be looking at it. And interestingly, a lot of people around the country are looking at it, and they're on the left, and they're raising unbelievable amounts of money for No Jail Janet, as you call her. I mean, I saw a video fundraising message from Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Yeah, they're
for
getting
her.
Hollywood stars. Yep.
So, I mean, has Wisconsin ever seen this for a state Supreme Court race? All the money coming from Hollywood and around the country?
This is by far going to exceed the all-time record for spending on a state Supreme Court race. And that even includes 2011, when they were trying to go after then Justice Dave Prosser to try and undo the work that we had done, which, by the way, has gone through both 12 federal and state cases and been upheld. She's talking about getting rid of that as well. But it's probably going to be the most expensive race for the state Supreme Court in the country. And it's because they not only want to undo the good work we've done. People say, oh, what about crime? They don't, circuit court, the entry-level court's the one that deals with that. No, the state Supreme Court deals with directions for the state courts. So they could very well do things like get rid of cash bail, mandate early release, do all sorts of horrible things. And as was just mentioned, nationally, could undo redistricting. This is why the left, in fact, on the Veeps little video, she talked about protecting our rights as if it's anything for her in California. No, this is just, it all boils down to Wisconsin is a battleground state. It has been for decades. It's a blue state that we temporarily made purple. And they not only want to win this race and use the courts to undo the things that we've done and mandate other things they want, they see this all as a precursor to 2024 and blocking a Republican, no matter who it is, from being elected president over Joe Biden. That's what this is all about in their mind. That's why the money's coming in not only from New York and California, but places all beyond, outside of the Midwest.
Has George Soros donated any money to her campaign? No.
Oh, their efforts are full scale behind this. I mean, this is his kind of person. She was, before a judge, she was a part of the DA's office in Milwaukee County. And remember, that's the DA's office that let this scum, the guy who drove his red SUV through the Waukesha Christmas parade because he was out on $500 cash bail. This is the kind of crap, not only here, but across the country, you get if you put these people in office.
Has there been any polling done? I mean, how is she doing compared to the other
actually,
candidates?
there's none by the campaigns because, of course, Kelly's campaign is doing well for a traditional campaign, but nowhere near the kind of money she has. But the statewide Chamber of Commerce a week ago had it within 2 points, which is remarkable considering, I mean, we've never seen a disadvantage in money the way it is between her and Kelly. But I think the effectiveness of, and internally, people like your listeners who get this, understand it, the redistricting, the things like Act 10, the reforms I did, all these other things are at stake. People get that. What has really been effective in Wisconsin, understandably so, amongst swing undecided voters, is when they hear about her lack of handing down any kind of prison time to people who've committed rape, essentially, against children, to people who've done other awful things. They just are disgusted. And as I've said, I don't think she belongs on any court, the least of which on the highest court in the state of Wisconsin. So we get that message out between now and next week. I think we can win. But, man, they're spending a lot of money.
Doesn't belong in any court or in a prosecutor's office to begin with either, it sounds like, and we're obviously very familiar with that in Cook County. The other, and so what she's doing and what the left is doing there, it seems to me, is the typical sort of misdirection away from public safety, which is a preeminent concern, to make this a referendum on abortion and other like niche leftist issues. You mentioned climate change, but a lot of focus on abortion, which is also drawing in all the left money.
Oh, it totally is. And even there, it's a total lie. I mean, the only thing the court would decide, could decide in Wisconsin, is the difference between two laws, one that goes way back to the year after the state was founded, which prohibits abortion entirely, versus a law I signed, obviously, before Roe v. Wade was undone with the Dobbs decision, and that law prohibits an abortion after 20 weeks. So it's either a choice between those two. There's no way the court, even in its activist position, would even be in a position to make a decision about anything other than those two cases. So they're just outright lying to people when they imply, when someone like Julia Louis-Dreyfus and others imply that this is about protecting, abortion on demand until birth. That would not be before the court. It's a question of these two. But the fact that they're telling people, I mean, just think about this, whether you're conservative or not, just think about anybody running for any judicial position telling you what their beliefs are before they rule. That's not why you have a judiciary. The judiciary is about upholding the law, not making law. But sadly, that's not what they do on the left.
Not pushing your political agenda, that's for sure.
I wanted to turn to your job at present, in addition to helping out in Wisconsin, which you clearly are, but the Young America's Foundation. You're president of Young America's Foundation, Speakers Bureau that provides speakers to college groups to bring them in to expand the parameters of discussion ostensibly on college campuses. There's an interesting piece we were just talking about before you joined us in the Wall Street Journal by Mary Eberstadt, who's an author and educator, where she talked about, you can't cancel me because I'm not going. And she was talking about a speech she was invited to give a talk about her new book at Furman University in Greenville, South Carolina. She basically said, per the treatment she came to understand, that other speakers like her with a center-right perspective on cultural issues, per the treatment she saw them experience and what they had to say about their experience at Furman, she canceled the speech. I'm not even going to bother because as another professor spoke there, said, I've never encountered a group of students so unwilling to learn and unwilling to listen. And so it's just not worth my time to be heckled and have to be surrounded by police and to be shouted down like we saw that federal appellate court judge, the treatment we saw him get at Stanford Law a couple of weeks ago. What about that? Are you getting more speakers like Eberstadt saying, you know what, Scott, I'd love to go talk there, but it's just not worth it?
Well, we get that kind of treatment all the time, thankfully, and I totally get where she's coming from. Totally get it. But thankfully, our speakers are willing to go into the lion's den, and here's why. My estimate, Ben Shapiro and I have talked about this before, we think there's 15, maybe 20% tops of the students on most campuses are the radical, loudmouth, obnoxious ones that we see protesting, that pop up, that shout out, that try and shut people down, that tried, for example, in New York State to literally grab the mic out of the hands of Art Laffer. Art Laffer, who's one of the most nice, joyful, happy, free enterprise warriors out there, but who's 81 and is like everybody's favorite grandpa kind of a guy. And even there they went after him. But thank goodness, Dr. Laffer, that didn't stop him from going elsewhere for us, whether it's Ben Shapiro, Katie Pavlich, Michael Knowles, Matt Walsh, you name it. We've got speakers. We don't do more than that, too. The Reagan Ranch, the Reagan Boyd Home, all these great conferences. But these speakers are willing to go out because we have to. And the good news is, if you go to campus or if you go to YAF TV on YouTube, where we put all these lectures up, and we see not thousands but millions of views. We just surpassed 1 million viewers. We're at 750 million views already this year on our social media at YAF.org. But the reason why it's so important is the curious kids, not the loudmouths, not the obnoxious ones, the ones who come because of the protest to see what's going on, they need to hear the truth. And I totally get where this author's coming from, but we're not going to back down. If you're under attack, YAF's got your back, and we're going to help bring good speakers to campus everywhere in the country, including in Chicago.
Do you think it's getting better? I mean, it's hard to see how it's getting better on
college
campuses.
It's worse and worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
I mean, these are talk about privilege. More often than not, these are white, rich, privileged kids who think that they can make up for whatever problems they think they have by showing the rest of the world through virtual signaling how obnoxious they can be and how unwilling they are to hear any views that aren't their radical views of the world, when that's just not life out there. And as Americans, not just in college, but everywhere, on social media, in the media, elsewhere in life. We've got to push back. We don't have to adopt their tactics. We don't have to be crazy and out of control, but we can't be intimidated. That's what they're trying to do. It's what they tried to do to, this years ago in Wisconsin. They tried to intimidate me with 100,000 protests. And we said, no, we're going to do what's right. And we got to do the same thing and show that, model that for young people on campuses and even in high schools.
All right. Well, you're the perfect guy for that job, given what you experienced as governor, as you just described. Absolutely. Scott Walker, former Wisconsin governor, current president, CEO of Young America's Foundation. That's YAF.org, YAF.org, and YAF TV, YAF.tv. Scott, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Good to be with you. Keep fighting for freedom.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Honey, is our car still under warranty?
Well, not anymore.
My sister just got an extended service plan from Ox Car Care.
Ox Car Care?
Yep, Ox will cover our repair bills if anything happens to the car, new brakes, a transmission, AC, or engine problems. Plus, Ox Car Care offers free oil changes, tire rotation, and roadside assistance.
Wait, we pay nothing on repairs? Ox gets it fixed for us? Free oil changes, free tire rotation, and free roadside assistance? What's the number?
800-294-7524. Ox has a 30-day money-back guarantee and is A+ rated on the Better Business Bureau. They handle their claims from start to finish, unlike the other warranty companies. We should call now. 800-294-7524.
All right, the last